In the city and county of San Francisco, we have a very strong tradition of philanthropy. And when I look at these three women, I see really the icons of philanthropy, all three of them.
Well, if you think of the history of Catholic Charities and CYO in the Archdiocese of San Francisco, we were really founded by pioneering women, nuns and laity, who really saw a need in the community to try to address the needs of children and families. And I think that Cecilia and Maureen and Rita today really speak to that tradition.
My first impression of Cecilia was her beauty. I mean, that's the first thing you notice. Really, her sparkling eyes. She just lights up a room. And then when you start to talk to her, you realize that she's wonderful, sweet, charming, and very intelligent.
Cecilia is probably the most unassuming, incredibly accomplished person I know.
I probably was there a year or so before I ever heard about one of the first Harvard MBAs, the first woman on the cover of Fortune magazine, I think. She doesn't feel the great need to list her accomplishments or her qualifications. She just goes about her work with a quiet grace and strength.
I came to see in her not just a woman who was distinguished in that field, and she was one of the early women in that period of time who brought together all those skill sets and experiences and varieties of acumen. But she did so in a way that was collaborative, that was warm.
In 2008, we had the worst recession, or the beginning of the worst recession since the Great Depression. We had a transition from one executive director to another. These are challenging times for anyone, and Cecilia was the board president that needed to keep the board together, to keep the agency together through those challenging times, with a clear vision of creating a much more sustainable agency on the other end.
She has this tremendous commitment to and devotion to serving others, especially the vulnerable, especially people in need. But it isn't starry-eyed at all. I don't think it's very much an ideal. But there are real contributions to be made in terms of what are the resources, what are the means at hand, who is best qualified to lead in this, how can we support that person or those persons most effectively. She makes it happen.
The fact that we are still here today, that we're thriving, that we have a new strategic plan that she was a major part of, the fact that we are continuing with a new sense of mission and commitment is all to credit to Cecilia's leadership.
Rita is a woman who doesn't know she's not 18 years old. She's a woman who will keep on going in trying to do good in the world, no matter what insuperable barriers are put up.
Rita is driven, she's committed to community, and she has an incredible impatience for results.
She has always talked about this Jewish concept of tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. And she takes it to heart, and she believes you can't repair the world alone, but you have to do it with your neighbors. And so she has tried to engage everyone around her with great urgency and persuasiveness to come together to make the city a better place.
Rita's passion for interfaith, I think, stems from an underlying commitment to core Jewish values, including the idea that all human beings are created in the image of God. She takes that in the most literal sense, that every human being who needs help should be helped, regardless of their faith. But also, she and her beloved Max in World War II were stationed in Mississippi during a portion of the war. And she tells the story of renting a room from a Methodist minister who asked them their religion. And she was nervous. But when they said that they were Jewish, he said, "Oh, that's a relief. I have enough Methodists on Sundays. So I'm glad it's somebody from a different faith." From that moment forward, I think Rita's passion for interfaith outreach was ignited.
Every major religion in the world, when it was not founded on the need for dogma or doctrine. It was founded on the need for compassion in the community. It was founded on the need for charity and service to those who were less fortunate, to those who were poor or vulnerable or marginalized. And Rita Semel gets that more than any human being that I know.
I would say the formation of the Interfaith Council itself. I think that was probably her greatest accomplishment. It happened in response to two crises in the city, a homeless crisis and the Loma Prieta earthquake. She tells the story of Mayor Art Agnos realizing that we had a homeless crisis spun out of control. And he basically said, you have a moral responsibility to respond. I mean, she'll remind you because she is not an ordained clergy person. And yet it fell upon her in her work at the Jewish Community Relations Council to do the yeoman's share of bringing people together. And what came out of that was the Interfaith Winter Shelter, which the San Francisco Interfaith Council has been involved with for the last quarter of a century.
But I think it's her incredible passion and motivation to have religion play a role in terms of justice and in terms of charity, to make this world a far better place.
I've heard that one of Rita's daughters, Jane, said that on her mother's tombstone there was going to be etched, "I'm not here, I've gone to a meeting." And I think that so sums up the activity that Rita is maintaining. She's not finished.
What drives Rita is a zeal for life, a great and a constant curiosity to know and to understand and to learn. She's always takes advantage of every day to do the next right thing.
Rita has passionately stood in solidarity with our community and believed that to do so means to reach out to other communities. And she also believes that there's no time like now to get it done.
Maureen is lively. She is probably the person that I know who manages to get the absolute most out of this precious thing we call your life.
When she makes her mind up to do something, she does it. She finds a way to do it, and she does it. She was like that from a very young age. She worked so hard in school because she knew she wanted to go to Stanford, and she won a full scholarship to Stanford and graduated with honors.
I'm probably the most proud of Maureen for the time that she went back to school after she lost her husband. She had been planning on that, but it happened a week before she was supposed to register. I just admired her so much for not saying, "Oh, well, I can't do this now." She put one foot in front of the other, and she attended classes and did that.
She decided to change the emphasis from family to grief counseling because she felt that since she was going through it, she would be able to help other people who would experience it.
There is a real deep faith there and a real strong spirituality. She doesn't go around saying that, but her actions make it very clear that a lot of her motivation comes from that kind of a foundation.
There's a real ability to listen to the deeper level of a human heart, I think, in her. I don't know how she does it. I wish I had it more, but she just brings a care, and it's that care which simply kind of just echoes out.
She's a person who really is not afraid to speak her mind and to be very clear about what those opinions are and why they matter.
She understands the goals of the organization that she gets involved in. She's selective in those organizations that she does get involved in. But when she gets involved, you have a woman who is a motivator and will get the other members of the board to be as involved as she becomes in what the goals of the organizations are.
Maureen was also instrumental in supporting our youth services at our Tenton Mission housing program. She's also been instrumental in ensuring that we can continue the fine work that's going on in our Star Community Home. She's been a booster, she's been a financial supporter, she's been a person who has rallied support from the city and from others to ensure that that work continues.
She has always the best interests of the organization at heart. And this is for no self-aggrandizement. This is for no honor grasping on her part. This is pure service. And she is totally practical and realistic. And anything that bothers me most would be when people don't simply trust her and trust her insights. I think we fail to listen to her insights at our peril. She is that good.
Catholic Charities has done a good thing in honoring these three women together because of what they represent in the good that we can do together. That we all want to do the best that we can do as individuals, but those who really accomplish the most are the ones who know that working together accomplishes the greatest good for the most people.
There is a time now for the church to honor its women so that our young girls, our daughters, our nieces can understand and recognize what it is to be a person who gives to other people, who improves the community, and who does that because they know they are called to do that.